The gentle pull of influence. Imagine this. You walk into a room filled with strangers. Nothing unusual at first. But suddenly, one person tilts their head upward and stares at the ceiling. Another follows. Then another. And without realizing why, you feel the urge to look up too. That tiny moment, so ordinary, so subtle, is persuasion. Not the kind that slams into you, but the quiet kind that slips under your awareness. The soft pull of influence. Persuasion doesn't always arrive with flashing signs, loud voices, or convincing arguments. More often, it comes in whispers, in gestures, in the quiet comfort of copying those around us. Psychologists call this social proof. It's a survival instinct. If everyone's doing something, there must be a reason. And in our deep wiring, belonging equals safety. Think about it. How many times have you laughed just because others were laughing, or clapped at the end of a performance, even if you weren't sure it deserved applause? These tiny acts of conformity are persuasion in its purest, gentlest form. But here's the darker side. If such a small cue can guide us without resistance, how much of our free will is truly our own? How many of our daily choices, what we buy, what we believe, even how we behave, are quietly shaped by forces we barely notice? And if strangers glancing at the ceiling can nudge us, what happens when the cues are not random, but carefully crafted? What happens when persuasion is designed, weaponized, and repeated endlessly? The mirror in the mind. Think about the last time you met someone and thought, wow, we just clicked. Maybe their energy felt familiar, or they seemed to get you right away. What if I told you that click might not have been magic at all? It might have been a technique. This is the principle of mirroring. When someone subtly copies your tone, posture, or even the rhythm of your breathing, your brain interprets it as connection. You feel understood, validated, safe. Salespeople use it. Negotiators use it. Therapists use it too, sometimes ethically, sometimes not. By reflecting you back at yourself, they persuade you to lower your guard. The bond feels authentic, but beneath the surface, it may be calculated. Here lies the contradiction. The very thing that builds trust can also be a manipulation. When someone mirrors us, our defenses melt. But is the bond genuine or engineered? And if persuasion can creep this deep into the roots of trust, how do we ever know what's real? It's almost like a hall of mirrors. You see yourself, but reflected back in someone else's shape. The lines blur, the self blurs. And if persuasion can reach that deeply into trust, what happens when it doesn't just win your confidence, but moves you into action? The foot in the door. Picture this. Someone knocks at your door, asking for a small favor. Maybe they want you to sign a petition to keep a park clean. It seems harmless, so you agree. Weeks later, they return, this time asking for a donation to fund that cause. Without much thought, you say yes. This is the foot in the door technique. Once we say yes to something small, we are far more likely to say yes to something bigger. Our minds like to stay consistent. If I agreed once, I must be the kind of person who supports this. That story, once accepted, becomes harder to step away from. Step by step, agreement by agreement, compliance grows. And we don't even notice the chain being built around us. The haunting part? This doesn't only happen with strangers. It happens in relationships, at work, in society. One compromise leads to another, until suddenly we find ourselves far from where we ever meant to be. So here's the unsettling question. When does persuasion stop being persuasion and start becoming control? And while persuasion can work slowly, building its ladder step by step, sometimes it skips the ladder entirely, diving straight into the emotional core of human decision-making. Fear and desire in the shadows. Two forces drive us more than any others. Fear and desire. Persuasion knows this and plays them like strings on an instrument. Advertisers whisper, "Buy this or you'll miss out." Politicians thunder, "Choose us or face disaster." News headlines scream warnings, pulling your eyes whether you want them to or not. Fear sharpens focus. Desire clouds judgment. Fear tells you, protect yourself. Desire tells you, reach for more. And when persuasion harnesses both, it bypasses logic entirely. Think about it. How many times have you clicked buy now, not because you needed something, but because you feared missing the deal? How many times have you voted, or agreed, or followed, not out of reasoned choice, but out of the weight of fear, or the sweetness of desire dangled in front of you? The implication is chilling. If fear and desire can override logic so easily, then how much of our reality is shaped by our choices, and how much by the stories others weave around those primal drives? And yet, the darkest twist of persuasion isn't even external. It doesn't come from advertisers, or leaders, or even loved ones. The deepest persuasion happens in silence, in the voice within. The voice within. The most powerful persuader you'll ever meet isn't a politician, or a marketer, or a friend. It's the quiet voice in your own head. Here's how it works. Persuasion plants a seed, a suggestion, a phrase, a story, and once planted, your mind tends to repeat it over and over until it feels like it was always there. That borrowed thought becomes your own. You nurture it, water it, grow it, until you can't tell where it came from. Think of slogans you can't forget, ideas you just believe, opinions you've carried for years but never examined. Are they yours? Or did someone else put them there long ago, knowing that once inside, they'd be self-sustaining? This blurs the line between influence and identity. If someone else's words live inside your inner voice, where do you end and persuasion begin? Are we individuals, or are we, in part, patchworks of borrowed influences stitched together? And perhaps the most haunting part, if persuasion is always at work, inside and out, can we ever truly escape it? And so, as you drift with these thoughts, persuasion reveals itself not as a tool or a trick, but as a constant companion, sometimes gentle, sometimes sinister, always present. The dark side of persuasion isn't just in what others do to us. It's in the silence where we can't tell the difference between what's ours and what was whispered into us long ago. So tonight, let your mind rest with this awareness. Influence is everywhere, but awareness is the first step to freedom. Or maybe freedom is just another story someone once persuaded you to believe.